Hello, class. My name is Dwayne Riley, and this is my professional growth and meetup project for CS230. First, I'll go through what group I joined through Meetup, and it was the API security group. And I wanted to look into something that I was considering for the field I wanted to go in after graduation, and cybersecurity has always kind of interested me. And the meeting I ended up going to was from a company called Wallarm, where they talked about their successful strategies for API security deployments. And their two presenters were both in the company, Tim Ebers and Brandon Shope, both engineers in the company. And it was kind of nice because they kind of worked hand in hand in their presentation, one showing more of like the customer side and the other showing the back end side of it. And when they were talking about their company, when they were talking about different type of deployment considerations, they mentioned how it's important to strike the right balance between security, infrastructure, and the needs of the application. The deployment should align with the company's risk tolerance and performance expectations, kind of both work hand in hand. And they also talked about how they'll emphasize that the deployment model should be flexible, scaling with the growth of the organization while minimizing disruption of the workflow. This allows both their startups and large enterprises to choose solutions that fit their evolving needs. Also, when talking about the many options to make companies more comfortable and their customers more comfortable, they discussed how different deployments, either inline or out of line, offer flexibility, allowing customers to choose what fits their technology environment best without compromising security for their company. The main thing was that they said there's no right or wrong way to deploy their security products. That the company also noted the successful security deployment comes down to making sure that it's aligning the strategies with the business goals and threat models, ensuring both security and operational efficiency. When they were talking about their infrastructures, that either a startup or big enterprise company, that the platform supports both of that type, either small startups or large enterprises, without requiring significant infrastructure changes. This was due because their solutions can deploy in hybrid, multi cloud, or on prem environments with minimal configuration. And when it came down to inline versus out of line, they mentioned that out of line deployments are less invasive, but they also avoid latency issues. But the company also stressed that their inline deployment offers the most comprehensive security by being able to block malicious traffic in real time. After the meeting, both of the speakers took Q&As from the people in the meeting, and I was able to ask about common pitfalls in API security deployments. And they pointed out a few key areas where organizations often slip up. For instance, insufficient API discovery leaves unknown endpoints exposed, while weak authentication and lack of input validation opens doors for attacks. They said by addressing these issues with strong API discovery practices, reliable authentication, and thorough input validation, organizations can significantly improve their security posture. So I found the webinar really informative regarding the strategies they use for deploying their security. They went over how they adapt their approach to fit different companies, customizing deployment based on the company size and needs, which was actually really interesting to hear about. They even shared some real world interactions with clients, explaining how different security packages are tailored depending on a company's infrastructure and business focus. This gave me a clear picture of how cybersecurity deployment actually works in real world settings, which is actually pretty exciting for me since I'm interested in going into this field. I definitely attend another webinar from Wallarm, and it inspired me to check out similar events on Meetup to keep learning from the experts in this field. So, for the school group part of the project, I was able to attend the Google Developers group, and it was actually in person. And it was kind of nice to be able to go to a meeting in person compared to watching it on Zoom. And this session was actually really packed with a lot of valuable advice, especially anyone considering starting their own tech company. And he had a lot of good resources for startups. And I thought it was really interesting how he mentioned that there's going to be a lot of startups that are going to be starting with fewer people. He was saying even some with just 2 to 3 people starting their own companies. He also shared some really practical insights on open source projects, highlighting it like how great open source is, but also making sure that you still take care of yourself financially, especially if you need to be making money. And when we were talking about AI in the workplace, I was able to ask a follow up question about how it will impact tech jobs. And his response was kind of interesting because he was saying AI definitely boosts productivity, but that also means there are fewer people needed to do the same work. He brought up how companies aren't going to keep around people that get away with only doing an hour's worth of work for the day. So you better be able to become more productive if you want to stay in the field. And learning how to use AI tools effectively will be essential for us going into the workplace. Overall, I thought the whole meeting was really inspiring and opened up my eyes to how it is going into the field by someone that's in there. For Stack Overflow, I was familiar with their website and I have used it before, helping me get through some coding projects. I needed to look up help how to do a level traversal of nodes in a binary tree, which was kind of weird because I've only ever done pre order, in order, and post order traversals for trees. But for an output, we needed to do level traversal, and it was actually really interesting figuring out how to do that. And as far as GitHub is concerned, when I started my journey trying to get my degree in computer science, we didn't really use it in the first couple years. But these last couple years, gearing up for graduation, I've been having to use it a lot more. And GitHub is basically a platform where developers can store and share their coding projects. It's really useful for team collaboration as it keeps track and changes made to the code, making it easier to manage other people's contributions. And it also can support open source projects, allowing developers to collaborate, learn from another, and even manage tasks, review code, and automate workflows. So, like overall, GitHub is a really powerful tool.